Hi everyone, my name is Gábor Mayer. I'm a product manager currently at Realeyes. Previously I worked with different companies. One of them was LogMeIn. At LogMeIn I worked on a product called Zybly. Zybly, shortly after I left LogMeIn, got acquired by Google, and now it's called the Google IoT Cloud. And just as there, today as well, I'm keen to work on innovative product, and we will talk about today the forces which drive towards product innovation. But let me show you just very briefly what we are working on at the moment with Realeyes, because it's pretty interesting. So here you will see a measurement of my attention to the screen, and that will be completely based on a measurement which is done on my computer. So you can see on the screen this little square around my face, and below that you can see a gray threshold line. So whenever the red line is above this gray line, it means that I'm paying attention to the screen. And when I look somewhere else, you can see that the face is not detected, or if I, for example, drink, you can see that the attention immediately drops. So this is just one small part of the technology what we do, and you will understand soon why such a small component can be critical when we want to drive product innovation. So let's talk about innovation. Oftentimes, innovation recently is confused with invention. So why don't we talk about what's the difference between innovation and invention? The main goal for an inventor is to create something new, while for an innovator is to find a large unmet need and satisfy it. On the solution part, usually innovators tend to solve quite complex issues, while the innovators are looking for customer problems and they try to solve those. For the goals, of course, an inventor wants to fund the next big thing, the next innovation, while for an innovator it's more important to build a more sustainable business. And the end result oftentimes is a patent for the inventors, but for innovators it's more like creating wealth. So on the next slide, I will show you a product which I worked on before. Actually, I was there when we had the whole idea to create it, all the way down to version 1. So let's see where innovation meets invention.
The hardest part of customer support is that often it takes longer to identify the problem than it does to actually solve it. Introducing Rescue Lens, the first true customer-assisted support solution. Lens allows your customers to show you the problem, rather than having to explain it. So customer service agents see exactly what the customers see. This is Paula. She's a bit of a perfectionist. That's especially true when there's a big client coming to the office, because Paula's the one who stays late to prep the reports. Prep the reports. Uh-oh, looks like Paula's run into a problem, and it's getting pretty late, and she's the last one here, and means the first thing in the morning. What the heck? But what if she could talk to a customer service agent who's using Rescue Lens? Okay. Now the CS agent can see everything Paula sees and quickly directs her to the trouble spot. It doesn't matter if she moves her phone.
This one here?
Yeah, that's the one.
The CS agent still easily tracks the action. Without the help of a lens-enabled CS agent, Paula ends up experimenting, and that pretty much puts her on the verge of a nervous breakdown. But with Lens, she's found the fix. And printing like a champ. The reports are prepped, and Paula's headed home for the night with not a hair out of place. Still no fix for that bumpy carpet though.
So this is Rescue Lens. This is a product what we created with the team who I worked with. The interesting story about it is basically it grew out from a hackathon project. Hackathon is an event inside many companies now in the tech industry where the only goal is to encourage the engineers to innovate because they are pretty close to the technology, so they know quite well the code, they know where are the downsides, and of course they are tech savvy, so they want to shine what they can do and just let their imagination fly. And this is what happened. So back then, we had two brilliant engineers and they found a new way of combining different existing ideas, combine it on a new way with which, as you can see, we could create a whole new product. The new components were, or the existing components were, what they combined in a new way, image recognition real time, a new streaming methodology which could stream the mobile phone's screen all the way to another computer, and just putting these together and putting on top of an existing ecosystem of remote support, we created this product. And to show you, after the quite well-polished ad, how Paula did, I show you something which we haven't shown too many people, only for a handful of friendly customers before. So this is kind of like the world premiere of the video. This is our internal pitch for the hackathon. So based on this pitch, we got the investment from the LogMeIn leaders.
The evolution of remote support powered by a form of augmented reality.
How can I help you?
Hi, I got a problem with my camera.
And what's the problem exactly?
I don't know, all the pictures are blurry.
Okay, then I'll turn on your camera on your device, then I will be able to see exactly what you see, right?
Let's do that.
Okay, now I see. Please turn the camera on the right.
Okay.
Now you have to turn this button on.
Which one?
This one, I'll show you.
Yeah, this one?
Okay, and then there's another one.
Which is?
This one.
Thank you.
That's all.
Excellent. Awesome, thank you very much.
So far, LogMeIn Rescue is the leading software as a service tool to assist with PC, Mac or smartphone issues. What if you could support literally everything? By using any mobile device, for example a Google Glass, the concept lets the technician see the issues through the camera as I see it through my eyes. A new support approach like this can help in several areas of everyday life, such as fixing a broken pipe, assembling complex IKEA furniture, or even recovering broken hardware. How can you connect to your support team? Using the support provider's app on the smartphone. A call for help button could even pass parameters to the team of technicians who are on standby, such as product ID, product family, making it easier to contact the right expert with skill-based routing. Using our innovative placeholder whiteboard feature, the technician can highlight any area of the camera image, which will be visible for the end user, no matter where they rotate to or move during the session. Static placeholder annotations use real-time image recognition using the processing power of the technician's computer, therefore placing no extra stress on customer hardware. This concludes our demonstration of the new approach, and thank you for watching.
Yeah, so that was pretty much the version 0.1 or not even that. As you could see, it was a quite premature video. It was yeah, we did it overnight before the pitch. But where innovation ideas come up from, they usually start from a need. So this is how you can start thinking about, okay, where do I start my innovation? Innovation usually starts where you recognize that your customers or your consumers have some problem what you want to solve, so they want to hire a more convenient or a more effective or just simply a cheaper tool to solve all of those issues. And that leads us to one of my main topics of today, which is the jobs to be done framework. You might have heard about the jobs to be done framework already. It's not something brand new, but I found it really useful throughout my career. So when we are talking about the jobs to be done, we have to see what kind of jobs people do every day. Usually, the categorization of all of our actions can be put into one of the following three buckets. It can be a functional job, it can be a social job, which is emotionally driven, and of course, as well, emotionally driven, but personal job. Let me tell you a few examples. Eating. Eating is a very simple thing, and it can be literally any of these three. Eating can be a functional job when you eat because you are hungry and you need to maintain yourself. Eating can be a social job when you see someone starving on the street and begging for food, and you pop into a nearby store and bring some food for that person. And it can be also an emotional, personal job if your goal is, for example, to seem to be a good parent because one of your kids have a school event where parents need to bring some cakes, and you bake some cake and bring it to the party so everybody can eat all together the cakes what you baked. So then eating becomes something which is a personal motivation. But why does it matter for you as a product manager? If you don't identify what is the job what your product is hired for, then you won't be able to identify who are the competitors and who should you pitch your customers in your marketing material against. So if you don't recognize that you are selling to people who are hungry, or if you are selling to people who want to buy for another starving person on the street, then you might be thinking the wrong way. Because for the functional aspect, you might want to sell something that quick and easy to eat. But for the social aspect, you might want to advertise the food that buy now, eat it in the next 3 days. You know, maybe in Tesco it is, there are those avocados where eat one today, eat one tomorrow. And then one is a little bit older and one is a little bit younger avocado in the package. So they get to the perfect eating state across different days. And it is the same with many other products. The Job to be Done framework has a really good book. I recommend you look into it. It's called Competing Against Luck. Most of the book is a very easy read. After you go through the first chapter, which tells you all about the job to be done concept, after it, it's literally just stories, really interesting stories. One of the first stories they say that they did a study with, I think, McDonald's in the US, when McDonald's wanted to improve their milkshake sales. And McDonald's was doing all the measuring, all the surveys, asking many customers, how do you like your milkshake? Do you like it sweeter? Do you like it crunchier? They tried to think about who is the buyer persona, and they just couldn't make up the right way to sell more milkshakes. And when the Jobs to be Done guys got involved, and they did a study, and interviewed people, they ended up realizing that there are two fundamentally different buyer personas for the milkshake, and not even the buyer personas are that important, but the reasons why they buy it. And it is in the morning, the same person, for example, I go in the morning on the way to my work in the morning commute, which takes me, I don't know, 1 hour 30 to drive. I want to stop by at McDonald's and buy a milkshake, have some crunchy part in it, so it's more entertaining, but I'm not getting sticky, not like with some donuts or some sandwiches. So here the job of the milkshake is to make my morning commute more entertaining. In the afternoon, when I'm coming home and picking up my kids from the school, and my kids want to stop by at the toy store to buy some toys, or the kids want to stop by at a friend to play with the friend, or the kids want to stop by at the playground to play, and all the way I have to say, no, we don't have time to stop with your friend. No, we can't buy some extra food because mom is cooking some dinner for us. So I'm telling the kid, no, we can't, no, we can't. But for a milkshake, I can say, yes, I can get you a milkshake, because the milkshake could be something which is big enough for a treat, but small enough that the kid will still eat in the evening the dinner. So the very same buyer persona in the morning buys for the motivation of making the commute more fun. In the afternoon, buys it to be able to say that I'm a good parent because I could told my child, yes, you can, right? In the morning, the competitors are sandwiches, donuts, coffees, whatever you can buy as a food on your way. In the afternoon, the playground, stopping by at a friend, the toy store, the burger at the restaurant, these are the competitors. So in the morning, you want to package it up in a quite large glass, put some crunchy parts in it. In the afternoon, you want to package it up in a smaller cup. You want to put less sugar, make it more milky to justify it as healthier. So you can see that it's the very same product, the very same milkshake, but it's a different job, right? So one is more like a kind of a functional job to get something to eat in the morning, which keeps you running until lunch. The other one is an emotional, personal job, which makes you feel good because you could tell your kid that, yes, you can. But how can you figure out what are really the jobs and what make your customers move? Another part of the jobs to be done concept, and there is actually a whole training around how to do interviews on the jobs to be done framework, so you can Google it and find some resources. So usually the forces which drive your customers either to buy or not to buy your product are categorized into 4 buckets: push, pull, habit, and anxiety. So let's talk about these a little bit in details. Pull force is the force when you feel that, oh, I really want this product because it gives me such a good promise. This can be usually, for example, an Apple iPhone, when they have all the promises and they sell it on such a way that many Apple fans feel that, oh yeah, I really want to buy this product because it can do this and that and the other. The push, staying in the context of a new iPhone, for example, the push is when you feel that, oh, my old phone is really slow, it doesn't have a good enough camera. So those are pain points which are pushing you away from the current situation towards something new. So these are more generating the demand for a new solution. While on the other hand, the habit, you could say that, all right, but still, I've been using Android for 10 years now. I'm not going to change for iPhone, however good the camera is. I just want to stick to an ecosystem, what I know well. That's the habit. And the anxiety, okay, but what if the camera is good but not as good as they promise? That's an anxiety about the future purchase, what you are planning to make. And as you can see, these forces work against each other, and you need to find the right solution, the right pitch to your customers in context with the job they hire your product for, that you can make them believe that these choices what they make will actually satisfy their need, and it will fulfill the job what they want to hire your product for. And of course, once you convince them, you still need to deliver with the product, so you better tell the truth. So let's do a little bit of practice where you can see the 4 forces analysis kind of on the go. Any of you hand up who has purchased, for example, a toothbrush recently? Anybody? Okay. So, for example, you can you help me? I would just ask you a few questions, and you could just answer me about your experience buying a new toothbrush. Is that okay? All right. So, you guys, the others, you can start listening and pay attention to all the sentences. What's your name?
Fardeen.
Fardeen?
Fardeen.
Fardeen, okay. So all the sentences what Fardeen says about buying the new toothbrush, and try to identify pull, push, habit, and anxiety. So Fardeen, tell me, when was the last time you were looking for a new toothbrush? Where were you? What did you do when you realized that you need a new toothbrush?
It was 2 weeks ago.
Okay. How did you realize you needed a new one? What were you doing?
Toothbrush was out of shape, so I had to get a new one to maintain my oral hygiene.
Okay. So what did you do once you realized that you need a new one?
So I went to the nearest retail store, a Sainsbury or Tesco, and I looked at what options were available.
Okay, so where did you look at?
Sainsbury.
Okay, and why did you just go to Sainsbury? Why didn't you look anywhere else? Okay, so that was the nearest one. So you saw, I guess you saw a selection of toothbrushes. What made you choose the one which you chose?
It was a new design.
Okay.
And it basically did not just focus on brushing the teeth, but also cleaning, the gums area.
Mm-hmm. Anything else you were paying attention while picking the toothbrush? The brand. Why was that important?
Because you as a customer, you trust a relative brand. I would prefer to go with a brand which is focused on the oral hygiene of a customer than a brand which is more like manufacturing toothpaste and venturing first time into the toothbrush segment, right?
Right. All right. Thank you very much. We've just made a few notes. So here are just a few quick items what we captured in the last few minutes. So first one, the old brush was out of shape. So what do you think? Where does it fall? Pull, push, habit, anxiety. Yeah, exactly. It's a push because I'm not satisfied with the current solution. Okay, maintain oral hygiene.
Habit?
Yeah, it's a tricky one because it can either keep you for the old one, but also it can be a push because since we know that the old one is out of shape, I'm not sure if I can maintain the oral hygiene without getting a new one. So I would rather put this under the push as well. So you went to the nearby shop, which is a kind of convenience decision. And what do you think, where would this fall? That the decision was not to go to any shop further away, just to the nearby one. Yeah, this can be a habit because you just every day go to that shop, so you just go there. So if a toothbrush, what you are selling, is not available in that store, then it would have not been purchased today, right? Okay, new design. Exactly. It's a new design, so there is a great promise that not just the teeth, but everything around the teeth will be cleaned. Brand trust.
I'd go with anxiety. Because
Yeah.
Because he's decided that one over others. So
Right.
others he's looked at with a sense of anxiety. So he's gone with the lower risk one,
Yeah.
basically.
For the toothbrush what I'm selling, it's definitely a pull because it's my brand power. For everybody else, it's an anxiety because he was anxious that maybe that toothbrush is not as good the other one. So here it's a pull. Otherwise, yes, it can be an anxiety from the other one's perspective. And the brand which focuses on oral hygiene, this is the last one I captured. So he wanted to buy one from such a brand. So which one is this? I want to buy my toothbrush from a company which focuses on oral hygiene.
Habit.
Can be a habit, yes, and can be a pull as well because they have the promise that they want to focus on oral hygiene. So it's a habit if my brand and the toothbrush what I'm selling is definitely focusing on oral hygiene and the brand, and it can be so that's a pull, and it can be a habit if it's not the case, because remember, habit and anxiety are pushing you away from buying this item. The push and pulls are pushing you towards buying this item. So let's see where we previously benefited from this interview technique. And this is a real life example. So this is a sales funnel from a prior workplace where I worked. So we did the 4 forces interviews, and this is our sales pipeline. So we have the contact funnel where we only have the contacts who we reach out to pitch to buy our product. Then they become prospects. Then when they are more likely to buy, they become suspects. Then when we qualify that, yes, they have a need what we can satisfy, that's when they get qualified. And then at the time when they are about to make the final decision, do the signing of the contract, that's the kind of the momentum when we just need to push them through so they sign the contract and start using us. The interesting thing is, if you check the colors, what we identified. When they first hear about us, or when we just reach out to them, they know a lot of our promises. They have many pull items, such as, I want to better understand my market performance, or I want exact action points and not to do the heavy lifting myself, right? So these are promises, what we promise them, and it's clearly working. They are mentioning that they want to benefit from these. But as the time goes by and they get through the sales funnel, all the good things, the pull and the push, disappears. And at the end, what is left? Anxiety, and habit. So at the end, we were hearing, well, we are not convinced that this solution is right for us. We realized that there is no need and it was never really there. So these are just kind of excuses and clearly anxieties what we can't really overcome if at this stage we have no pull or push. So we had to realize after collecting all this data and interviewing our own salespeople, what did the customer say when they first reached out, when they became a prospect, when they got qualified, or when they were about to sign their contract, and what did they hear about the customers. We had to realize, based on all the data what we collected, that basically at the start we have a really good opportunity to sell, but by the end it's almost impossible to sell because all the advantages are just gone. So we really had to work on it and fix this. And you know, there can be different solutions. You can fix this with communication, you can fix this with product features, you can fix this multiple ways, and of course we did many different steps to overcome these obstacles. But as you can see, if you break down, for example, your sales funnel and interview the people who can tell you what they heard as your customers were going through the sales funnel, you can pretty much work out what those people who are about to buy your product think. So you can quite well have an idea about what you need to change in your communication or in your product.
So just
yes,
on the last one.
Of course.
Why would pull or push not be present in that aspect?
Because we didn't do a good enough job at the time. So we couldn't explain as they were going through these steps. We couldn't clearly articulate our values. We couldn't possibly convince them that the solutions what we offer and which were here, that you will understand better the action points, you will have a better view on what you need to do. We just couldn't convince them that we can really deliver on those ideas. And it was mostly about how we communicated, because still all the functionality what we had to enable them to learn those, it was there. It was just mainly we couldn't clearly communicate it and convince them how it works and how they will at the end of the day benefit from it, right? It was pretty eye-opening, I can tell you, when we got to this realization. So we did many interviews, and then one colleague of mine just pulled this data and put it on a chart, and we were all like sitting there and said like, oh, all right, that explains a lot. That explains a lot that we have stuff to do. Yeah.
How big a sample size is that?
Usually, of course, the bigger is the better. This one is, I think it was between a dozen and 2 dozen interviews. So I would say it was kind of large enough that we started to hear the same things again and again. But of course, the more you can interview is the better. But one interview like this, even though we just spent like 3 minutes on this one, but if you do it properly, it can take you at least like 30 minutes, but maybe even 45 or to an hour. And sometimes it's a lot to ask from especially those people who didn't really buy your product because they were just prospects or qualified leads, but didn't end up buying the product, right? But how can you as a product manager really benefit from this? Because at the end of the day, this is about how you guys are getting to be better product managers. If you can understand better what your customers are about, then you will be seen as a better product managers. There is a really great guy called Peter Krumpotik. He is a product manager at Salesforce at the moment, and he writes, for example, on Quora and on Mind the Product and many other places on the internet. You can find articles and small thoughts from him. And this one I particularly like because I really feel that this is kind of the truth. So engineers really don't hate anything else more than to work on something which doesn't make sense. And doesn't make sense usually goes with they work on something which will not build any financial benefit to the company. So this really pushes you as a product manager to build something which will benefit your company financially, and therefore which will make sense for the developers who you work with. And once you identify what's the motivation, what's the job, what your customers are hiring your product for, and you understand the dynamics and the powers which are pushing them away from hiring your product versus hiring something else, then you will be able to articulate their needs more and for sure develop something better for your own customers. But there are some benefits on the long run as well. Imagine that you start your career as a product manager now and you have to decide, okay, what do I want to work on? If I could restart and if I was told, let's say 10 or 15 years ago, this, I would probably, I would have been quite grateful. So imagine that you start a job now and in 2 years you quit. And after 2 years, you transition to another company and start learning about the other customers who you will work with and the other product. And then 3 years later, you again start at a new job with, again, another type of motivation of the customers with another product. So all the time, basically what you do, you start building up your knowledge, you start to learn about the job, what they need to do, you start to learn about the needs of them, and then after 2-3 years, when you build some knowledge up, you just quit and get to the next one. And instead, if you could pick a topic at the start of your career, what you really like, and if it happens to be a sort of job where you can go and imagine working for the same company for longer than just a year or two, you could easily end up building up a so much bigger knowledge on this. So you will be learning about the needs and the job of your customers throughout the years of your career. So at the end, you would be so much more knowledgeable, you will be trusted a lot better by the people around you, and probably knowing the needs of your customers so much better would make you develop just better solutions for, for the customers as well. This is also two slides from the same guy, Peter Krumpotik. So again, another great write from him. And yeah, I wish I would have known this before, because I sometimes went pretty much the left side of the screen, built up some knowledge in the healthcare IT, then I changed to another one, and so on and so on. So to summarize what we've heard today, I have 3 recommendations for you, and if you remember just these 3 things from the today presentation, it would be this. Try to fall in love with the problem of your customers and really understand the job well, what they are hiring your product for. Then understand the forces which motivate them either to choose your product or choose any other product instead. And then try to think creatively. Remember the innovation at the start. Think creatively and combine existing or new things on a new way and package them up on a new way so you can create some innovation. So if you use the forces, what you know well, and if you understand the job really well, then it's quite a straight way towards to innovation driven by the forces of the product. And that pretty much concludes what I wanted to share with you today. So I'm open for any questions, or if you don't want to ask here, I will be available for like 10 minutes or 15 after the session ends for more one-on-one questions.
Yeah, so just use this opportunity to ask any questions that you may have right now, yeah.
I guess I have a question around the forces.
Yes.
I couldn't really wrap my head around
Okay.
that one, because so you were saying, maybe I got a bit hung up on the actual visual.
Okay, all right, let's go back there.
Again?
Yeah.
Yeah, so when you say push and pull,
Yeah.
you mean like what the company is doing to generate the demand. So if they have a strong brand, essentially they're pulling the customer.
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
if they're, let's say, doing lots of promotion, they're pushing.
No, the push is that you are not satisfied with the current solution, you are looking for something else. Remember the toothbrush? I realized that was the very first one. The old toothbrush got out of shape. So that's pushing you away from what you currently have and the promise of maintaining, using something with a new design to clean not just your teeth, but everything around it. That's the promise, that's the pull, right? So the push is pushing you away from the inconvenience, from the old, from something what you are not satisfied with. The pull is pulling you towards a new solution.
Oh, okay, now I get it.
Yeah?
Because I'm a marketer, so I look
Okay,
at it from
all right.
like a marketing perspective.
Yeah.
But I
It's
guess
definitely
what you're
useful for
talking
you.
about is from a consumer perspective. As
Absolutely.
in, how does it move me as a consumer?
Yes. Yes,
Okay,
these are the
okay.
forces which move you. And the great marketing will pull your consumers towards your brand. While if you can play on the weak points of the other solutions around, what they might be actually using as of today, you can make them be pushed away from those solutions.
Right.
Yeah?
Or if your pull talks to their push. So the language in the head of the person's pain, your marketing would essentially talk to that. So the new design for this guy was really important. So then the marketing of the new design kind of got his pain point.
Yeah.
What about the habit? Because you said that it's like, I see it as less demand, but I can see it also like the other way around. There's more demand. Like you were saying, like, yeah, I'm using Android for 10 years. That's a more demand for Android, right?
Could be, but then we are looking at the purchase decision from a different point of view. So when I say habit, it's more about when you are planning to replace an existing solution with a new one. So these forces are present when you are trying to replace something. So for example, if you are Android and someone is using Android, habit works for you and it works against iOS, right? That's true in that sense. Yeah?
Any recommendations on books about the 4 forces and the sales funnel?
Yes, sales funnel I don't have. On the 4 forces I do have. I will need to look up my notes quickly. So there is a website. It's called When Coffee and Kale Compete.com. So here you can see a good article about it. And I think I had one book about it as well saved. Yeah, you can start from here, and then yeah, I'm sure there will be a lot of references. Yeah?
I was also curious to hear, so after you did the analysis around the funnel,
Yeah.
what was the outcome in the end? How did you tackle the problem?
Yeah, so partially we created some sales playbooks and battle cards so that we can articulate better how we compare to our competition. So where do we fall short, where do we outpace them, and what are the values what we should pitch our customers. So that was one part of it. The other part of it, that we identified that we have some gaps in the functionality. So we extended the functionality so that we could serve the job what we are hired for better. Yeah?
Did you find any change in pricing?
Not as part of this exercise.
Okay.
But you can easily find. So I mean, if someone tells you that, yeah, I used to pay $100 for this and now you are asking me to pay $300, it's a clear habit. I want to continue paying 100, and it's also an anxiety. Will this deliver enough value for me which can justify 3 times the money, right?